Hello everybody, it is James here once again, and we're going to be doing another attempt at this breakdown of my 3D environment this 3D project I've been working on. So, if you were here for the last one, which you probably weren't, which is fine, we had some issues with the models, the model that was resulting in some issues actually in major parts of the model, but I ended up fixing it. So we're going to try again. And of course, we are here with cats. So the cats are going to be doing their thing always on the screen. And yeah, we're just gonna do our best and maybe not show. There we go. Here, let's try that. Am I nice and centered? Good enough for me. Hello, P. This is P. She is a friendly little kitty. Can we do a close-up? Oh, well, apparently not. Anyways, let's get started. So, we are working with, where do I start? Let's start with this. So, this is the project this is the piece of concept art that I had based off the project entirely. This is a piece of artwork by Adrian Gerard. I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I'm sure I'm not, which is fine. We're doing our best. It is a intergalactic space food stand. So as you can see, there's lots of really interesting details here. We've got all kinds of... We have a really awesome droid here. We've got food elements, we have little ornaments, we have hanging elements there, different bowls, different kitchen appliances. I love these wind chimes, these discs. So this piece has a lot going on. It really inspired me to really try to make it. So that's what I did. So this is the piece of concept art, and this is the final result. So, yeah, I did my best, and I think I'm pretty happy with the results. So let's we'll go into basically an overview of how I created everything. So, as with all my models, I start with 3 Studio Max, and there we are. This is the model. So this is real low poly. And it does the job. So in my 3 Studio Max file, you will see I have oodles and oodles of layers. Low poly accessories, so that's everything in blue, the droid itself, which is in yellow. Then we have the actual food cart, which is the red. And then we have our posters and food elements. And of course, these are all the low poly versions. So if I was to remove all those and start unveiling the high poly stuff, you can see that, hey, look at, there it is. And they're not those funky, weird colors, besides the posters. But you can see the high poly elements, and a very simplistic approach here. You have your floating elements that you just bake onto the low poly model, and you use the higher poly for some really nice shading effects when you on your normal maps. Of course, if you guys have any questions at all during this, I have chat open so I can see them pop up, so I will do my best to answer anything. But that's so yeah, we did lots and lots of interesting elements here. So you may be asking, why is it in 4 different colors here, in 4 different layers? So each layer, I basically just created so each layer is its own texture. So the red will be one complete texture, the blue will be one complete texture, the yellow is one complete texture, and so is the green. This is I did it that way, so because I have so many objects in here, like if I was to select all the objects that we have in this model. That is, what, 616 different objects? It's a lot. So having 616 different objects, like physical objects, in one UV texture layer would be a bit nuts. And you would end up losing a lot of quality in pixel density. So we split it up into 4, and I felt like that I definitely could have even split it up further, I think, or you use more tileable textures as well. But this is the way we approached it. So let's I'll show you one of the unwraps here, just to show you just how tightly I packed it. So there we go. That's, as you can see, there's not many spaces going on in there. There's a couple, but this part isn't supposed to be there. Here, let's try this. There, that's better. We had that ground plane selected as well, so that was its own separate texture. That's just for rendering purposes. It's not actually part of the model. But there, and you can actually see, like, we packed it pretty tight there. There's a couple of gaps in here, but for the most part, it's pretty tight. And we have a pretty decent texel density for this. We use 4K textures across the whole model. So traditionally, this is what you would paint on in Photoshop or something like that. Nowadays, everyone uses Substance Painter, or Substance Painter or something equivalent. There's loads of different ones. I guess even like Toolbag has its own painting program too now, which is apparently really good. But anyways, let's move on. So from there, we did our low poly, we did our high poly. Before we completely exit out of 3 Studio Max, I just want to go over why the shading is so funky on this. Like, look at the shading. It's kind of, nothing looks really like it should. So if we go back into our unwraps, the way we've done this is that every single one of these UV islands has its own shading group. So that's why when we actually go into a baking program, it actually it creates a higher quality bake, and it just looks better when you bring it into another program. So that's why, like, it'll look crappy for the low poly in 3ds Max, but once you actually apply the normals, then everything's gonna look pretty sweet. So that's why that is the way it is. So every single UV island has its own shading group. Moving onwards, Substance Painter. So this is what we used to paint it. This is a Substance Painter 2018. This is before Adobe bought it and required all this subscriptions and whatnot. You may be asking yourself, why are there floating fruit here? We did that for texturing purposes. That's just it's easier to texture them here, and then when I re-export it without those floating objects, then all the other objects that share those textures just get them. So you don't have to actually texture them like inside the actual bowl. You can texture them out here so you see them. But let's go into one specific texture here. And once again, you can see all the layers are once again broken down here. So those same colors represent layers here in different texture sets. So we're going to play with the, I just want to go over how we did one particular texture here. So the texture in mind is the copper/bronzy look. One moment while it loads here, I'm going to just take a quick sec to drink. Good stuff. So yeah, my computer's a bit older, so it definitely chugs for loading these kinds of things, but we're doing our best. So this is the layer we have in mind here. And as you can see, everything, like the lights have layers, the sandstone pieces have layers. But we're going to focus on the brushed bronze/copper. So that's everything in blue. I keep the very bottom layer a bright color, so I know if I haven't painted something properly because it stands out in this bright blue. Okay, so let's turn these layers off and we will quickly show you how I built this up. Okay, so the first thing we do is we have our basic bronze colored texture. And as you can see, there's not much going on here. There's, besides the lines, which you shouldn't be seeing. Now you don't see them. Yeah, I had them off. Okay, so yeah, this is after it's been baked. So you can see it's got all the normal maps and stuff already loaded up here. So we can even show you that real quick. So it looks like it turned out really nice, and you can see the normal maps also being affected by dirt and stuff as well, which is cool. But for the untextured version, that's what that looks like. And yeah, like that's what we start with. That's our base layer. So when I'm going through my textures, I'd like to make one of these. So I take the concept art and I kind of break down different colors or different materials on it. So for this particular piece, the bronze, it's like a bronze bar top, which I had kind of looks like this. I was like, this is what I was aiming for. So you can see there's these nice lines that go across it. You can see in this one too, like nice sweeping lines, and like the dirt is like a darker bronze. And we didn't go too crazy with the texture on the model because like we didn't do this underlaying corrosion and stuff, but we did some top level corrosion, which is fine. But yeah, that's I do this for every single material that I see, just so I can easily reference it, and I'm like, this is what we're aiming for. So you have your metals and stuff and different food items and stuff, and yeah, it's just a nice thing to create, like a mood board almost, but it's just a reference board. Anyways, so I want to get those lines in that bronze, so we did a brush linear line, and it's just right into the normal as well as like the roughness. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's very subtle. It's just the lines going up and up and up. We also did it going at a slight degree. So these are going 90, and we added another layer. See how that pops up like that? These ones are going at a 60-degree angle like that, and it just adds a little bit of something when you're just a nice base layer, just to add a little bit of detail. It's not too overwhelming. It's pretty subtle. So then we wanted to add the darker elements that we saw in the concept art there. So like in there, like it's definitely a darker color. So we did a darker base, which is all of these pieces, and that's just an overlay, but it really darkens it up. I think it nice contrast there. We also did some wearing marks that were a bit lighter, so that's what those look like, just for a little bit of variation in the surface top. It's a bit heavy in some areas, but I think it's pretty effective. So this layer particularly, the extra heighten of an area, that's this guy right here. So when we pop that on, you can really see these big puncheons that are in this oven. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it looked pretty cool, so we threw it in there. All right, now moving on, let's look at the stains. So yeah, everything's nice and labeled here. So when we turn the stains on and off, you can just see how it breaks up the reflection even more. Just like these stains that like build up over time. Everything has it. Like unless it's like brand new out of the showroom, you're not gonna have this, but like you need that. It really adds a nice layer of reflection to there. It breaks up the reflection really nicely. So the next piece I wanted to have was like the bronze corrosion layer. So this is something that I didn't originally have, but when I was at my Christmas party, we had these little bronze statues, bronze copper statues. I don't know what they were, but they had a really nice corrosion going on. And if you know anything about bronze, when it corrodes, it's a green color. So we did it very subtly right here, where I imagined you would have a lot of people waiting for their food. So droid's right there, waiting for his food. So that's like hands just sitting there, wearing it down. And let's see, a little bit there as well. And I think it's a pretty nice effect. So there's not too much there. There's a little bit of a gradient for the oxidation, and some additional dirt drips that are a bit darker in color. So then we added a general noise layer, or dirt layer. I'm going as quickly as I can because I have a lot to cover, and I don't want too dense here. We're just gonna do one layer here, like one particular material. So yeah, dirt on, off. So this is mostly around the edges. It's pretty subtle, but you know, a lot of subtlety, you end up with a pretty good result. So then we added another one, and this one's even more dark, and just darkens up the edges. You know, as people put their hands there, it gets caught. Like dirt and stuff, grime gets like caught right there on the edge. So that's why we put that there. I have a cat who's trying to knock everything off my keyboard, off my desk. This is very inconvenient. You know, don't have cats if you want to do this kind of stuff. Then we did a slight sharpen. So let's see if you can even see that. It's, once again, I keep saying it, but it's very subtle. So it just really just adds a little bit of oomph to that dirt, so a little bit of sharpness to it. And then across the whole bar top, I multiplied the AO that we burnt while we were doing the normal maps. So let's turn that on, and it's quite a drastic. Like everything in darkness is actually dark, which is what we were aiming for. So that is that's that. So we did that for every material that we saw, and we just same kind of approach, different, like instead of corrosion, we would have rust on the polished pieces, and different grime and stuff on the pipes, and it's really an excellent look, I think. But let's move on to Marmoset. So this is Marmoset. This is what I used to render it, and as you can see, this is the. This is the. Here, one second, I get my layers back up here. The cat kind of knocked everything over. Okay, so this is Marmoset. We don't have any of the textures turned on right now, but let's quickly turn those on. Starting with the food stand itself. And we have the wireframe still enabled, so I'm going to have to turn that off. And there's the emissives as well. We can't forget the emissives. They really add a lot to the scene. But let's just turn off those wireframes so you can actually see. There we go. Look at that. It's absolutely wonderful. And then we have our poster layers. And the posters were all done by myself. Definitely not a 2D artist. Not my specialty. But I had a lot of fun making these. When I do the art post, I will post those as well in it, so you'll be able to see those. And yeah, we're just turning on all of our layers. This is for the droid, and I'm really happy with the way the droid turned out as well. And one last layer is the accessories, so that we'll start seeing those come alive here. Oh yeah, beautiful. So yeah, that is that. So let's quickly show you the different things we use here. So this is those are the pine nuts. But as you can see, like we did a lot of different pieces on this model. So everything on this model is on a turntable, so I can rotate everything and not have to readjust the lights. So there you go. And it's gonna be lagging because it's the rendering stuff is on, but that's fine. So I'll just quickly go over the lighting real quick. So inside the model itself, we have I don't know if the mic is picking up, but the children are screaming downstairs. So I'm also going quickly for that. There's the model lights in and are inside the model on and off. So yeah, without those, it would be completely dark in there. And then let's turn off the rest of the lights. So yeah, you can just see, like, yeah, the inside lights, that I feel like those lights just have to be attached to the model itself because it needs to be lit. There we go. So without the skylights on, we have 3 different skylights. We have our normal light, which is just half the value because it was killing everything. It was way too bright. So we brought that down to about half, and then we can just use our actual accent lights to fill in the space. So we have our basically our three light setup. So you have your rim light, which is that bad boy right there. That fills up a lot of the upper half of it. This light here is our side light doing that fill for that. And then we have just another light just to fill out the bottom a little bit. I feel like that a nice mixture of those, and we got a pretty good result. So yeah, that's basically how we did that. And yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. And once again, here is the final image, and then we brought it into Photoshop and did a little bit of a vignette around the edges there, and we added a little bit of just a little bit of grain to it as well. You know, it just adds a little bit of softness to it. But yeah, that's gonna be it for that. So thanks for watching. Hopefully it was kind of interesting and you found it a bit entertaining. But I'm gonna go wrangle some children that are screaming their heads off. Yeah, I'm really proud of this piece. So thanks for watching, everybody. That's just a real quick short video from here, but that's it for me. Until next time, good night. Bye.